Hello, everyone. I am switching gears today to talk a little bit about the other portion that I really love about the Vedic science, which is yoga. Yoga. What is yoga? Is it Yogi Bear? I haven't heard that one before. But no, really, I want to clear up some misunderstandings about what yoga is and what yoga is not. Mainly what it is. Because there are some misconceptions about yoga. I mean, you see everything from like hot yoga to like goat yoga and Goga and whatever, dude. There's so many like different versions that really what I want to talk about is really the core of what yoga is. There's so much to yoga that I can't explain it all in one video, but I can at least kind of talk about the overarching concepts of what it is, right? First of all, yoga is a lot more than a bunch of poses. And the reason why I keep trying to figure out why yoga went from a consciousness science into some like basically a form of exercise. Really, yoga, when I think it came into the United States in the 60s, and I believe it was the Beatles that popularized yoga, yoga started to become all about what's called hatha yoga. Hatha yoga is specifically, or hatha, as one like haughty teacher told me, is really specifically yoga geared toward poses. And what these poses were specifically when they were invented was to help the body get ready for meditation. Really, it was how to help stretch yourself out, help be able to get into different meditation postures, but it was never really meant to be a practice in its own. So really, if you're doing hatha yoga, you're really trying to get your body ready to do the real work. And most of yoga, as you will see, or at least hopefully come to understand, is really preparation to do the really deep subconscious work that you need to do to go through and clear all the deep subconscious proclivities that you see in your astrology chart. Because really, that's what the astrology chart is. It is a map of your subconscious proclivities and when they are most likely to be triggered by planetary transits and also the dasha system. So all of this stuff really builds into karma too. So the Vedic astrology chart is the karma that you bring into this particular lifetime. I mean, we really can't separate Vedic astrology and reincarnation because the two are so interlinked is the best word for it. So this will let you know yoga has 8 branches or limbs, and each one of those branches really represents a different kind of practice within yoga. So just to go over this, you have the yamas, which are the practices, or I'm sorry, those are the do nots. So those are the restraints. Those are the things that you do not want to do. Then you have the niyamas. I always get these mixed up because I always think naya has some sort of negative connotation in Sanskrit, but it's the other way around. And actually, the niyamas are the things that you want to do. So really, this is just kind of like the basic moral principles of yoga, and this is really in order to achieve in order to achieve a sound mind in the eyes of the Vedic culture. You need to practice yamas and niyamas. Those are the basic moral principles that you need to have in order to gain higher levels of consciousness. So then you have, let's see, asana, which is basically your postures. That's a hatha yoga. Pranayama, which is basically breathing techniques in order to slow down the breath rate. And then you get into pratyahara, which is sense withdrawal. Then you have dhyana and dharana, which are kind of like, one of them is actually concentration and the other one is not concentrating in meditation. And both of these, when these combine, you lead to a state of consciousness called samadhi. And what samadhi is basically knowing that every object in the universe is essentially the same. It's almost like recognizing that on an intuitive level, knowing that really all the universe is all of the it's all the meanings that we assign to objects and all of our how our senses attaches to the object. So one of the examples I like to use, like so this book, which I'm going to plug later, what is this book? Well, it means a lot of different things to different people. I mean, some of this is in Sanskrit and it means nothing to me. Really, the only definition that we have of the book is in the mind. And so in the state of samadhi, you're able to actually see this for what it is, which is basically an objective piece of matter. And in yoga, thought counts as matter. Think about that. Yoga is also, too, just to segue, yoga is the study of the mind's link to matter. So just like I was saying, really in yoga, there's two. We have mind, which is separate from matter. And matter is everything like thoughts, objects, sense perceptions, all of that stuff. And then you have the mind, which is actually the observer of the matter. And then you have yourself, the perceptor. So one of the erroneous things that people think is that they are their thoughts. They actually identify their ego or their sense of self with their thoughts, their thought patterns, how they react to thoughts. And in yoga, this is not the case. You are not your thoughts. Your thoughts are just objects that your mind happens to run into because it's triggered by symbolism in the Vedic astrology chart. And this is so important. I cannot emphasize the importance of symbolism. If you can understand symbolism, you can understand the nature of the universe and pretty much everything else that lies within. Now, yoga is the removal of subconscious attachments stored in the mind. So you kind of see this, you see this pictured often. I think I've seen it plenty of times where you have the consciousness, which is everything that's going on in the awareness, and then you have the subconscious, which is everything going on under the surface. When you look at an astrology birth chart or a Vedic, just a regular astrology birth chart, even in Western tropical astrology, you're looking at the subconscious. So really everything, all the planets and aspects play out right down here in the subconscious mind, but then when it gets triggered by stimulus, what happens is it's brought into the conscious mind for you to actually use your free will to act upon that activation. Okay, so really free will plays a huge part in this. And really the awesome thing about astrology is you actually get a map of everything that's below the surface. Now, when you do meditation, essentially what you're doing is you're taking this water line and you're moving it down the iceberg to the point where you start going into the very deep subconscious mind and you start dealing with stuff from other lifetimes too. So in the, how do I put it, in the Vedic sciences, basically when you die, your consciousness leaves your body and your consciousness is a storehouse for everything that's ever happened to you. And when you reincarnate, your body and your circumstances actually form around that karma. So it's almost like the birth chart is like, I don't want to call it a DNA template because that's oversimplifying DNA, but it's almost kind of like what your makeup is going to be too when you actually incarnate into the physical world, okay? So Vedic astrology directly links the subconscious mind via yoga, and this is what is so awesome. Not only do we have a system for understanding karma, but we have a system on how to deal with it and negate it so we don't have to keep being reincarnated over and over again. So really we use yoga, and how this works is each one of the chakras is assigned to a planet, and the what happens is your karma is actually stored in the chakras. And really, if you have different planets in different signs, each sign represents a particular chakra, and if you have different planets in those particular signs, those chakras are activated in different ways. And so really what the birth chart does is it ties all the chakras together in the karmic activation sequence, okay? And so what you do with yoga is you actually go into the chakras and into the deep subconscious mind, and you start to nullify some of this stuff. So this is why yoga is so important. I will tell you anytime, any day, anywhere that the best defense that you have against faded astrology is your awareness. You actually earn your free will by expanding your awareness. When you're aware, you're not as likely to react in a particular way when there's a conjunction activated in your chart. So this is how free will and yoga and astrology all work together. So now what I want to do is, if you want to learn more, a couple of my favorite books. First of all, I have this right here. This is almost kind of like my Bible in a way. So I studied under Goswami Kriyananda for a couple of years. I actually took their seminary program, but I decided not to get ordained because I don't think the life of a Swami was for me. So like when I get the label, if I got the label of Swami, I'd be tied to a particular identification. And to me, spirituality is really about non-identificational titles. That's more of a personal opinion. So this book basically goes through yoga, anything and everything you wanted to know about Kriya Yoga, or yoga in general. Goes through all the niyamas. It's got so many postures, breathing techniques, mantras, Sanskrit mantras, the different levels of everything, right? So this book is really great. It's a little old. It's from the 70s, but this knowledge goes back thousands of years. And I'm going to segue into the next book I was going to talk to you about was read the Yoga Sutras, okay? And this is the one that I like the most, of course. The Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. They're actually all of them are. It was originally written by Patanjali, and this is written by Sri Swami Satchidananda. And really, the Yoga Sutras is yoga. I mean, really, all of yoga, what it means and what it really contains is in this book. There's different techniques. Now, the Yoga Sutras don't really talk about techniques, but really what it does is it talks about theory. It talks about what you need to do and how the Yoga Sutras work is each like here, this is just a little example. Each sutra is divided up into a tiny little part here, if you can see that. And each sutra was made to be as short as possible with as much meaning because it was passed on in an oral tradition. So students had to memorize this stuff back in the day before they were written down. And I think the Yoga Sutras was first written down in 250 AD. They kind of dated to that, but the tradition goes back thousands of years back to the Harappan Valley culture. So yoga is very old. Okay, astrology is even older though. Astrology goes all the way back to ancient Sumeria. So the Vedic system is even shown to be like about 5,000 years old. So, and of course, you can read my Yoga Sutras blog at nobsyoga.com. So go there, read the blog, and book a consultation because, hey, you know, I got to make a living too. So, all right, everybody, thanks so much. I am going to be making more videos about yoga, and I'm going to start going through the Yoga Sutras actually. The Yoga Sutras is one of my passions. So, I actually been blogging about them, and I'm through the third book, but I would like to make a video on each sutra in particular. There's about 250 of them, so it will keep me very busy for a while, and also, you know, add some variety to the channel. So, all right, everybody, I hope you have a great day. Thank you for watching.